Have you ever experienced that subtle ache that runs through you in the deepest hours of the night, just before falling asleep, as if something invisible were waiting at the door, something you could neither name nor describe? Padre Pio had a saying, "The night is the test of the soul." That's why the prayer you will learn today isn't just a series of words. This prayer is an invisible blanket that closes over your soul as you sleep. It protects you as you sleep and brings a sense of lightness upon awakening in the morning. Padre Pio's nighttime advice isn't just a suggestion for prayer. It's a call to protect that delicate threshold where the soul is most vulnerable. Night is the moment when a person's body rests. Their mind is silent, but their soul passes through a door between worlds. That's why Padre Pio said that what you think, what you intend, and what words you carry in your heart before falling asleep will determine the state of your soul upon waking in the morning. According to him, the night is a test. A person's inner storms are heard more clearly when they are far from the noise of the day. Therefore, night is the soul's most naked state. Padre Pio noted that especially during the night, one can be in the midst of an unseen struggle. Evil awaits those moments when a person is exhausted and their mind is relaxed. For in those moments, a person's defenses weaken, their thoughts scatter, and their heart remains open, exhausted by the burdens of the day. That is why the night prayer is not merely a text to be recited, but a door lock that protects the soul. This prayer, while surrendering one's soul, simultaneously envelops it, preserves it, and carries it to the morning light. This approach, taught by Padre Pio, is based not on fear, but on surrender. Fear is the key that opens the door to darkness. Surrender means being embraced by God's hand. The most important thing to carry in the heart before falling asleep is intention. If your heart is filled with resentment, if the weight of the day has darkened your mind, and if there are names you have not forgiven, their shadow will follow you throughout the night. Padre Pio's words are clear on this matter. Every name you cannot forgive in your heart becomes a chain to your soul at night. Therefore, night prayer begins with cleansing the heart. Releasing resentments is the soul's breathing. The soul that breathes is protected throughout the night. Padre Pio also said that angels keep watch over a person during sleep. However, if a person doesn't surrender, this watch cannot become complete protection because fear and doubt open the door. Therefore, night prayer is not only a call to God, but also a declaration of surrender. The phrase, "I entrust my soul into your hands," is a key that entrusts the soul to God's care. Many of the nightmares, incubuses, or feelings of restlessness encountered during the night are not merely mental images, but shadows that creep through the door when the soul is unprotected. Padre Pio explained that these moments are not random. According to him, night is a phase when a person's spiritual strength is tested. However, there is nothing to fear, because surrender does not allow darkness to enter. Prayer before sleep is not just words. True prayer is the posture of the heart. When the heart turns to God, darkness recedes. When the heart turns to the world, the soul becomes weary. Therefore, Padre Pio viewed the night not as a closing, but as a preparation for the soul's rebirth. For the morning light reveals the intention behind the night's sleep. If a person recognizes their hurt and chooses to forgive, their heart is lightened. If they recognize something they are grateful for, their soul expands. And if they surrender their heart to God, darkness cannot approach. The power of night prayer lies in one's surrender. Surrender is not weakness, but strength. For a person is protected not by their own strength, but by a greater power. The night, as Padre Pio taught, is not for protection from darkness, but for drawing closer to God. The darkness will naturally depart. The final point of this advice is this: end the night not in fear, but in light. For fear opens the door and light seals it, and one passes through whatever door one seals. Therefore, every night before you lay your head on the pillow, pause for a moment. Breathe, listen to your heart, and acknowledge the burdens you carry within you. You don't have to carry them. You don't have to hide them. Just let them go. Because letting go isn't giving up. It's letting God carry them for you. And when you wake in the morning and feel your soul light, you'll know at that moment that Padre Pio's advice is true. He who surrenders the night welcomes the morning with light. And remember, light always comes. Just don't close the door. This is Padre Pio's nighttime advice. Surrender your soul to trust, not to fear. And that trust dispels the darkness. Have you ever felt like the air has changed even though nothing is happening in your house? The doors are the same, the furniture is the same, the walls are the same, but an invisible weight seems to sit in the center of the room. Padre Pio described this phenomenon as the silent steps of darkness. According to him, darkness exerts its influence not by attacking you, but by approaching you imperceptibly. Darkness often arrives not by breaking the door, but like cold air seeping in through an open window. When a person is alone with the tiredness, resentments, and unresolved thoughts within their heart, that window opens of its own accord, and darkness never rushes. It waits, observes, and silently approaches. Padre Pio used to say, "Darkness speaks most in silence," because when a person doesn't speak, thoughts begin to shout louder. Fears, regrets, anger, or sadness, suppressed during the day, change their appearance at night. If a person falls asleep without realizing the burdens they carry in their soul, these burdens change shape throughout the night, and upon waking in the morning, they feel tired, unhappy, or anxious for no reason. This uneasiness isn't without reason. It's the trace of a silent shadow that touches the heart throughout the night. According to Padre Pio's teachings, darkness awaits a person's moment of weakness. And the moment when a person is weakest is when the weight of the heart rises to the surface at the end of the day. A person can smile to everyone during the day, appear strong, be patient, and endure. But when night comes, the heart no longer hides. That's when darkness approaches. When a person's spirit is weak, thoughts wander, the past begins to speak, regrets resurface, and anxieties spread like shadows across the walls. The lights in the house are turned off, but if the light within the mind is also turned off, darkness finds its place. Padre Pio used to say, "Darkness cannot approach unless permitted." In other words, darkness is not powerful in and of itself. It fills the empty spaces within a person. Fatigue, resentment, despair, lack of surrender, each of these is a door. Darkness doesn't force the door, it simply waits. It wants you to open it. If a person doesn't confront themselves at the end of the day, their subconscious mind speaks to itself throughout the night, and they can't find peace even in their sleep. Nightmares, sudden awakenings, night sweats, or waking up feeling restless are all symptoms of this. Padre Pio said that most people deny the existence of darkness, but experience its effects daily, because darkness operates without revealing itself. Evil sometimes appears in the form of an event, a word, or a person, but more often it is merely an emotion, a fragile, heavy, suffocating feeling, an invisible fog that descends upon the soul. Sometimes one says, "Nothing happened today, but I feel depressed." This is the moment when the darkness's steps are heard. Darkness approaches not by frightening one, but by weakening one's faith. First it diminishes hopes, then it constricts the heart. If a person has forgotten to pray when they wake in the morning, has stopped giving thanks during the day, and refuses to forgive in the evening, the door is open for darkness. Padre Pio's warning is clear. Darkness enters through the heart, not through the door. Therefore, it doesn't matter how clean the house is. If the soul remains impure, light cannot enter. The crosses, sacred objects, and symbols hung on the walls of the house are merely objects unless the heart prays. Their power comes from the surrender of the heart. When the soul turns to God, darkness cannot approach. Darkness cannot exist where there is light. Even a single candle is enough to break the shadow of the largest dark room. That's why Padre Pio required nightly prayer, because prayer is something darkness forgets. A person is not alone. When prayer is offered, the soul is not alone. Guardians, angels, and divine power form a circle around the heart. The darkness cannot penetrate that circle. But when prayer is not offered, the circle remains unbroken. That's why some nights feel heavy, some mornings weary. The darkness is silent, but its impact is profound, and it doesn't require a cry to stop it. One sentence is enough. I surrender my soul to you. Surrender is the lock that is cast on the darkness. For darkness cannot touch the surrendered heart. The surrendered heart is protected. The surrendered heart is covered by light. And when the light comes, wherever it may flee, the darkness vanishes. Padre Pio's prayer, which seals the night, is a protection born not only from the words spoken, but from the moment the soul surrenders. This prayer should be recited just before falling asleep, after the lights are turned off, at that moment when the heart is at its quietest. For it is at this threshold where the human soul is at its most open, most fragile, and yet most audible from the chaos of the day. Padre Pio used to say that prayer doesn't need to be loud. In fact, a prayer often whispered is far more powerful. A loud voice is the speech of the mind, while a whisper is the speech of the heart. A prayer spoken by the heart reaches God most quickly. That's why night prayers are said in a whisper. Prayer is not merely a request for protection. It is the soul's declaration of its surrender. Surrender is not abandoning oneself. It is the knowledge that one has entrusted oneself to a greater power. This knowing causes the body to relax, the shoulders to drop, and the breath to deepen during prayer. Not only the words, but also the breath are important in prayer, for the breath is the gateway to the soul. Each sentence recited while exhaling during prayer reduces the weight within the soul. Now let's share the ritual for prayer step by step. These steps are the practices Padre Pio taught his own students at night. First, stand for a few seconds at the head of your bed. This posture symbolizes the transition from the burden of the day to the night. Then gently close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Inhale through your nose, exhale slowly. As you exhale, think, I release the weight of today. Then lie down. When your head hits the pillow, don't say a word. Simply notice in your heart what has been most tiring that day. Perhaps an argument, perhaps a regret, perhaps a resentment, perhaps a word you didn't say, perhaps a sentence you said, even though you knew you shouldn't have. Notice it and say, I release today to you. This sentence is the first key that closes the door of your heart. Then comes the prayer, recited slowly so that it settles word by word into your heart. Whisper it. Take your time. Exhale with each sentence. The prayer is, Lord, tonight I entrust my soul into your hand. I sleep in your light and wake in your mercy. Darkness cannot find me, evil cannot touch me, for I belong to you. Amen. The prayer should be said 3 times. The first repetition is for surrender. The second repetition is for sealing. The third repetition is for thanksgiving. As you say the first, your shoulders relax. As you say the second, your heart feels lighter. As you say the third, a warmth radiates from within. This radiance is a sign of protection. After completing the prayer, there is a very small but powerful gesture taught by Padre Pio. Place your right hand right next to your pillow, closest to your heart. This is because the hand's proximity to your heart physically expresses the soul's turning toward God. The hand doesn't have to remain there all night. Its purpose is simply to show the heart's surrender and complete the sealing moment. This small gesture tells the darkness, I am not alone here. Many people fall into a peaceful, deep sleep after this practice without waking up in the morning. And when you wake up in the morning, you feel a light relief on your chest. This relief is a sign that your soul has been protected throughout the night. Those who pray this prayer regularly notice that within a few days, your thoughts soften, your nightmares diminish, and your inner distress ease. Because prayer does more than simply banish darkness. It calls forth light, and when light arrives, darkness disappears of its own accord. At this point, a very important thing must be remembered. Prayer acts not at the end of the night, but at its center. That is, the soul remains within the circle of protection throughout sleep. Even while a person sleeps, the soul continues to breathe. And throughout the night, the soul is kept in God's hands. Prayer is not just words. It is a seal that guarantees the soul's safety. That's why Padre Pio used to say, they cannot find the soul that prays at night, because darkness cannot touch the soul held by God. Practice this practice every night, even on nights when you are tired. Because the nights when you are most tired are the nights when your soul needs the most protection. And remember, prayer doesn't have to be complete. It doesn't have to be perfect. It simply has to be genuine. It must come from the heart. For God hears not the beauty of the voice, but the truth of the intention. If this moment has touched your heart, now take a deep breath without saying anything. Because prayer sometimes begins without words. And when the words come, the seal is complete. Tonight, entrust your soul to the hands of light. Darkness cannot find you. Evil cannot reach you. For you are protected now. Amen. The power of Padre Pio's night prayer lies not only in the meaning of the words, but also in the imprint they leave on the depths of the soul. Prayer is not about asking God for something. It is about aligning one's inner world with the divine. No matter how many words are spoken, without surrendering the soul, any prayer remains merely a sound. But when the heart surrenders, even a few words can be powerful enough to move mountains. This is precisely why this prayer is so effective, because it is a declaration of surrendering the soul into God's hands. Surrender is a person's greatest strength, because darkness cannot approach a surrendered heart. Darkness loves hearts that are resistant, angry, weary, and searching for something to hold on to. For within those hearts are open doors. But a surrendered heart seals the night with light. This prayer means, I entrust myself to you. And this phrase opens the door for the divine power to completely envelop the soul. While a person sleeps, consciousness closes, the body relaxes, but the soul remains awake. Throughout the night, the soul wanders in an unseen world. This world is the realm where thoughts, intentions, and emotions take shape. If a person harbors fear, anger, regret, or resentment before falling asleep, the soul wanders through these dark emotions throughout the night. However, this prayer closes the door to these emotions. Prayer surrenders the soul to a divine calm. Therefore, prayer prevents darkness from approaching throughout the night. Prayer is not merely protection. It's a compass that directs the soul. This compass directs the soul not to the shadow of darkness, but to the source of light. This prayer, taught by Padre Pio, allows a person to rely not on their own strength, but on God's. A person who relies on their own strength is broken, exhausted, and exhausted. However, a person who surrenders themselves to God is enveloped by a warmth and trust arising from within. This trust is a beacon that pierces the darkness of the night. Darkness cannot touch a soul that is safe, for darkness always seeks an open door. The power of this prayer is not to banish the darkness. To try to banish the darkness is to empower the darkness. True power lies in summoning the light. When light comes, darkness vanishes. Darkness is not something to be destroyed. It is a void to be filled with light. This prayer fills that void within the soul with light. The prayer that seals the night closes the heart's door from within and provides protection from the outside. This is why we wake up peacefully in the morning. Because in the silence of the night, the soul is not alone. It is embraced by a divine hand that protects, guards, and watches over us. This prayer reminds us of the difference between our own power and God's. We cannot control our destiny. We cannot manage every detail of life. We cannot have certainty about the future. This truth creates anxiety. But this prayer allows us to relinquish the need to control everything. The phrase, I belong to you, establishes our position in the universe. Surrender liberates us. Prayers are often filled with requests. We want more power, more peace, more protection. But Padre Pio's prayer asks for nothing. It simply surrenders. That is why it is powerful. Because the purest prayer is not asking, but letting go. When a person surrenders the fear in their heart to God, the fear is no longer there. When a person surrenders the pain in their heart to God, the pain is no longer a burden. When a person surrenders their soul to God, darkness can no longer approach. This prayer is also powerful in its ritual aspect. When repeated nightly, the soul knows that darkness cannot approach and develops an inner sense of security. This security allows the person to sleep peacefully through the night. Because the soul knows it is not alone, prayer expands this sphere of security felt by the soul. And when a person wakes in the morning, they are not only rested, They feel renewed. This renewal comes not only from sleep, but from the soul being protected in a divine realm. Padre Pio often said, "As one sleeps at night, so too will one wake in the morning. If one sleeps restlessly at night, the morning wakes heavy and dark. But the soul that closes the night with surrender welcomes the morning with light." This prayer is the invisible bridge between night and morning. It is a passage that connects the night not to darkness, but to light. This prayer is powerful because it reminds the person of the light within themselves. There is a spark within a person, and this spark comes from a divine source. Prayer ignites that spark. Darkness cannot even approach that flame. Therefore, this prayer is not merely protection. It is a return of the soul to its essence. And when the soul returns to its essence, the darkness vanishes, for the light is already there. While Padre Pio's nightly prayers alone are powerful, according to his teachings, prayer has its most profound impact when it harmonizes with the spirit of the space. The soul is influenced not only by words, but also by its surroundings. Therefore, the arrangement of the bedroom, the placement of objects, the tone of light, the volume of sound, and even the scent of the room determine the soul's journey throughout the night. When falling asleep, a person thinks they have left their body, but the soul is still perceptive. The soul senses the air, light, and silence surrounding them. If the room is cluttered, cramped, tense, or disorganized, the soul is forced to navigate that chaos. Therefore, Padre Pio advised simplifying the room before going to sleep. Simplicity allows the soul to expand. The first step in this preparation is silence. When entering the bedroom, there should be no television, music, telephone, or other noise. Sound keeps the mind alert, but prayer is the work of the soul, not the mind. The soul opens in silence. Silence is not a void that invites darkness. It is a curtain that allows the divine to be heard. When a person is silent, they hear their heart's voice, and its voice is directed toward God. Therefore, sitting quietly in the room for a few minutes before night prayers, or remaining motionless in bed, prepares the soul for prayer. The second step is to locate a sacred object in the room. This is usually a cross, an icon, a holy card, or a rosary. However, Padre Pio's warning is crystal clear. This object should not be placed under the bed or under the pillow. The sacred object should not be crushed. It should accompany it. The sacred object should be at the bedside, right next to the heart, on the edge of the pillow, within easy reach. This way, the soul senses its presence before falling asleep. The sacred object is a silent vigil against darkness. It is a guard, but its power comes not only from its presence, but from the meaning one imbues it with. If one treats the sacred object with reverence, it protects the soul. If it treats it merely as an ornament, the soul cannot find that protection within itself. The third step is the energy of the room. If a room has not been ventilated for a long time, the air becomes heavy. When the air becomes heavy, so does the soul. Therefore, it's important to open a window for at least a few minutes during the day. Fresh air refreshes the soul. Fresh air allows the soul to move freely while sleeping at night. If the air is stuffy, the soul remains stuck. One of the most important things to avoid in the bedroom is electronic lights. Devices like phones, computers, and televisions interrupt the flow of the soul. These devices stimulate not only the eyes, but also the soul. Therefore, removing these devices at least an hour before bed is one of Padre Pio's most frequently repeated recommendations. The fourth step is scent and light tone. A very strong scent disturbs the soul, but a light scent of incense, lavender, cedar, or natural wood invites the soul to a deep peace. Scent is directly linked to memory. If you use the same scent every night, the soul will eventually associate that scent with peace, and this peace will be directly reflected in sleep. The lighting should be as dim and soft as possible. A sharp light keeps the soul and mind alert, while a dim light allows the soul to turn inward. The fifth step is to relax the body before going to bed. Because the soul is not independent of the body. If the body is tense, the soul will be tense. Therefore, before going to bed, it's necessary to slowly relax the shoulders, neck, and back. This isn't a ritual. It's a preparation for the soul for silence. As the body relaxes, the soul deepens. When all these steps are completed, the room is no longer just a place to sleep. It becomes a space where the soul can surrender safely. This preparation, along with prayer, seals the night and protects the soul from darkness. Once the room is prepared, there's a final touch, dwelling in silence. Before praying, breathe without speaking for a few seconds, because prayer arises from silence, not from noise. These few seconds open the soul's door to God. The heart softens, thoughts slow down, and surrender comes naturally. When surrender occurs, prayer is no longer just words. It is the soul itself, and when the soul lets go, the night transforms into peace. When this preparation is repeated nightly, the bedroom becomes a haven for the soul against darkness. When morning arrives, the true impact of nighttime prayer reveals itself silently. For this prayer is not only offered to protect the night, but also to welcome the morning with light. As Padre Pio said, "As the soul sleeps at night, so does the morning." This saying may seem simple from the outside, but it holds a profound secret. Not only does the body rest while sleeping, the soul also undergoes a journey. Whether the soul stayed closer to darkness or light during the night shapes its mood in the morning. Therefore, the impact of nighttime prayer on the morning cannot be underestimated. If prayer is sincere, even the first breath of the morning feels different. The breath feels wider, softer, and lighter in the chest. There is no internal constriction, no heaviness. It's as if an invisible warmth fills the soul, slowly spreading from the inside out. This is proof that the soul has been protected throughout the night. There are some mornings when a person wakes up restless, lost, tired, and tense without any reason. This is usually due to the soul wandering through a space filled with dark thoughts throughout the night. If a person falls asleep with anger, resentment, or fear in their heart, the soul carries the same burdens throughout the night. In the morning, these burdens are reflected in the body, and the person feels as if they haven't slept at all. But when the prayer that seals the night is said, the soul surrenders those burdens to God, and the night becomes lighter. Morning is no longer a morning of burden, but of surrender. Even if a person doesn't realize it, their body, breath, mind, and heart know it. The evidence of morning is often silent. There's no need to wait for a great miracle or extraordinary sign. The real miracle is the change that happens within. When a person wakes in the morning, the light in the room seems softer. When they look out the window, the sky becomes more meaningful. A warmth spreads to the palms of their hands. Some people even experience a slight vibration or a sense of protection in their chest upon awakening. This feeling is so powerful that it cannot be described, but once recognized, it is never forgotten. This feeling is silent proof of the presence of angelic protection throughout the night. One of Padre Pio's students came to him one morning and said, "I didn't have a nightmare all night, and when I woke up in the morning, I felt a sense of security in my heart." What is the reason for this security? Padre Pio answered, "He who sleeps in fear encounters darkness. He who sleeps in submission awakens with light." This is why the feeling of morning is the mirror of the night, sealed with prayer. By looking into this mirror, one can understand where one's soul has been during the night. The evidence of morning is not only emotional relief, it is also mental clarity. The mind thinks more clearly, decisions come more sincerely, and the voice of the heart becomes more comprehensible. Because when darkness cannot penetrate the night, the shadow on the soul is lifted. When the shadows are lifted, one faces one's own true light. This true light is the divine spark placed in every soul by God. When one awakens with this spark, the burdens of life become more bearable. Problems do not disappear, but one is no longer the bearer of problems. One is the one who can see them and stand firm in their face. Sometimes this morning arrives before the sun rises. In other words, before opening one's eyes, one feels an inner silence and warmth. This moment is the clearest moment that the praying soul has been embraced by God's hand. This embrace cannot be explained in words or fully described to another. The proof of the morning sometimes manifests itself in actions. Things that normally disturb a person affect less. The heart becomes more patient, words softer, steps calmer. There is a trust within, and this trust manifests as a peace that overflows. Harsh words do not affect, arguments do not penetrate, and resentments are easily resolved. Because one is no longer alone. That is why the morning is the most honest mirror of the night. Just as the night was sealed, so too is the morning opened. One who sleeps in prayer awakens not as a child of darkness, but as a child of light. And this very moment is the silent but definitive proof that prayer has been answered. For darkness may hide, but light does not. When light comes, everything becomes visible. If you wake this morning and feel a lightness in your heart, a warmth in your chest, and a confidence in your soul, know that you did not sleep alone. A protection held you, a light enveloped you and carried you into the morning. And this is one of the greatest miracles, the morning of a protected soul. We don't walk this channel alone. There's a family here who wants to seal every night with light. If you too want to learn to protect your soul and live closer to inner peace, subscribe to our channel and be a part of this journey.